Welcome to The Awakened Heart, a podcast for healing women. This is a space where your voice matters, your body is sacred, and your journey home to yourself is always honored, no matter how winding the road. I'm Autumn Moran, a licensed professional counselor, life coach, yoga instructor, and ultimately your companion on this divine path we call healing. And today I want to dive deep into something I think many neurodivergent people struggle with, and that is neurodivergent burnout. And I want to start by just saying, if you're feeling exhausted, if you feel like getting through your day feels impossible, if you feel like you've lost parts of yourself you used to have, you're not broken, and you're definitely not lazy. You're most likely experiencing neurodivergent burnout. And today I want to talk a little about the difference between workplace burnout and neurodivergent burnout. Why most of the advice you've been given isn't working, and what actually does help. I want to acknowledge that if you're in the thick of burnout right now, I understand that even listening to this podcast might feel a little overwhelming, and that's okay. Please give yourself permission to take a pause and come back to this and listen to it in chunks. There's no pressure here. So, what does neurodivergent burnout actually look like? When most people think of burnout, they think of workplace burnout. And that's typically people working too many hours, taking on too much responsibility, feeling cynical about their job. And the solutions seem obvious. Take a vacation, set better boundaries, maybe even find a new job. But neurodivergent burnout is completely different. It's not just about work. It's about existing in a world that wasn't designed for your brain. Neurodivergent burnout happens when you've been masking, accommodating, and forcing yourself to function in neurotypical ways for so long that your nervous system is basically saying, fuck off. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. So here's what it actually looks like. Burnout, you can experience skill regression. You might notice you can't do things that you used to do easily. Maybe you used to be able to make phone calls without a script, and now even making a doctor's appointment seems or feels impossible. Maybe you used to love socializing, and now being around people for any amount of time is overwhelming. Maybe you experience sensory overwhelm. That is when everything feels too much. The sound of the dishwasher, the feeling of certain fabrics, and even normal lighting can feel unbearable. Just everything around you is just heightened. Your sensory receptors are overwhelmed. And then we have executive function collapse. This is where basic tasks like showering, doing laundry, or making decisions become monumentally difficult. It's not that you don't want to do them. It's that your brain literally cannot figure out how to start because your nervous system is so frayed. Then we have emotional dysregulation, which goes in with the executive functioning. You might find yourself crying at commercials. You might have meltdowns over seemingly small things, or you might feel completely numb and are disconnected. There's the physical exhaustion that comes along with burnout. This isn't just tired. This is bone deep. Sleep doesn't help exhaustion. Your body might ache. You might get sick more often, and you might feel like you're just sludging through the mud. Loss of interest happens. Things you used to love, your special interests, your hobbies, they may feel completely inaccessible or uninteresting. Increased rejection sensitivity. This is criticism that you used to handle okay, now feels devastating. You might assume everyone is upset with you or that you're failing at everything. And what makes this so confusing is that this isn't depression, though it might look like it. This is an anxiety, even though anxiety may be a big part of what you're feeling. This is your neurodivergent brain and nervous system protecting you from further harm by essentially going into shutdown mode. So why does this happen to neurodivergent brains specifically? I want you to think about it this way. If you're a neurodivergent, you're essentially living in a world designed for a completely different operating system. Every day, you're having to translate, adapt, and mask to function in neurotypical spaces. Masking isn't just pretending to be something you're not. It's a constant, exhausting process of monitoring your behavior, suppressing your natural responses, and forcing yourself into neurotypical patterns. It's like running a translation program in the background of your brain 24/7. And this takes enormous energy. Then you have sensory processing. For many neurodivergent people, there are sensory issues. We process sensory information differently. What feels comfortable to a neurotypical person might be painful or overwhelming to you. But in most environments, workplaces, schools, social settings, there's an expectation that you'll just deal with it. You have executive function demands. The neurotypical world is built around executive functions: planning, organizing, time management, and task switching. If your brain doesn't naturally do these things easily, you're constantly having to work harder just to keep up with basic expectations. If you're autistic or have ADHD, social interaction may require intense focus and energy. You might be constantly analyzing social cues, monitoring your tone of voice, or trying to figure out the unspoken, unwritten rules. And this is so incredibly exhausting. And then with all that comes the lack of accommodations. Most environments don't provide the accommodations that would make life easier for neurodivergent people. So you're constantly adapting yourself to spaces that don't fit your needs. Over time, basically your stress response system gets overwhelmed and starts breaking down. And the cruel part about this is it often happens to people who are high achieving, who have been successfully masking for years, who from the outside might look like they're doing great. You might have a good job, good relationship. You might seem like you have it all together, but internally you're running on empty. This is why neurodivergent burnout often comes as a surprise to you and to the people around you. One day you're functioning, the next day you can barely get out of bed, and everyone's confused about what has happened. And people have well-meaning advice. Take a vacation, take a bubble bath, go get a massage. Everyone gets overwhelmed. Set better boundaries. Push through it. Just smile. Think more positively. This doesn't help. Telling someone to just take a vacation assumes your burnout is about work stress. But if your burnout is from existing in a world that doesn't accommodate your neurotype, a week at the beach isn't going to fix that. You'll come back to the same sensory overwhelming environments, the same masking demands, and the same lack of accommodations. Bubble baths and face masks don't address sensory overload. Meditation could possibly make things worse if you're in a hypervigilant state and it's hard to feel grounded. And the pressure to do self-care right can actually add to your overwhelm. Just set better boundaries assumes you have the privilege and power to set boundaries. But if you're a neurodivergent, you might not be able to set boundaries around the things like sensory input, social demands, or executive functioning requirements without risking your job, relationship, or basic survival. The tip, everyone gets overwhelmed sometimes. I totally understand. This minimizes the specific experience of neurodivergent burnout. Yes, Everyone gets stressed, but not everyone's nervous system shuts down from fluorescent lighting or has meltdowns from unexpected schedule changes. Yoga, exercise, eating better. These are all beneficial. But this is a suggestion that assumes your burnout is about lifestyle choices rather than fundamental mismatches between your neurotype and your environment. What about this one? And this is coming from me. Maybe you should see a therapist. Therapy is incredibly helpful, but only if your therapist is neurodivergent affirming and understands neurodivergent burnout. Traditional CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy approaches might actually make things worse by focusing on changing your thoughts rather than changing your environment and reducing demands. Find a niched therapist. Find a niched life coach that is neurodivergent, educated, affirming, and knows how to work with you, not against you. You just need to push through it. Just keep going. This is perhaps the most harmful advice. Neurodivergent burnout is your brain protecting you. Pushing through it like trying to walk on a broken leg will only cause you more damage. Just smile, think positively, be more happy, just be grateful. Your burnout isn't caused by negative thinking. It's caused by real, ongoing stressors that aren't being addressed. Positive thinking won't fix sensory overload or executive functioning challenges. The reason most of this advice doesn't work is because it's treating neurodivergent burnout like it's regular stress or depression, but it's not. It's a specific response to specific environmental and social pressures that neurodivergent people face. Yeah, break time. I'm in my notes. I got to the break time. This is a hydration break. This is a deep breath break. This is a take a note break. I'm going to take a sip of my drink. And while I'm here, I'd like to say, if you want to work with someone, I'm here for you. Check out my show notes, the link in my show notes, fill out a consultation form. Whether you're working through trauma, trying to find your way to yourself, or sitting in that in-between place of life, I hold space for it all. Reach out to me. Let's have a chat, see if we're a good fit. All right. Okay. Back to the program. So, if all that traditional advice doesn't work, what does? I'm going to go through it. And here are some things you can do that are helpful. Take notes, get your journal out, open your notepad on your phone, whatever you need. First off, one important thing is to reduce demands and do not add more to your plate. The first step in recovering from neurodivergent burnout is to reduce demands on your system, not add more things to your to-do list. This might mean saying no to social events, asking for extensions on deadlines, or temporarily stepping back from responsibilities that aren't essential. Next up, start making your environment work for you instead of constantly adapting yourself to your environment. This might mean wearing noise-canceling headphones in public, Hello Loop earplugs. The latest version you can adjust them depending on the environment. Using sunglasses indoors if lighting is too overwhelming. I mean it. I'm not joking. Changing the texture of your clothes or bedding. I say this on a neurodivergent standpoint, and I say this on a healthy for your body and internal system standpoint. Stay away from polyester and plastic clothing. Try cotton, try linen. They're lightweight, they're comfortable, they wash well, and they're not plastic. They're not forms of plastic on your skin, which is not good for you. So, change textures of your clothing and bedding. Even satin silk pillowcases, very nice. Not just for the hair support, not for just the skin support, but for a good sensory feeling when you're sleeping. Create quiet, low stimulation spaces in your home, whether that be a closet, whether that be a corner, whether that be a part in your room. Make a safe space where you can go and cool off or read or relax, put on some mood lighting, put on some music, some nice pillows, something comfy. And use organizational systems that work with your brain, not against it. Baskets, sticky notes, top 3 to-do list, Pomodoro technique. There are many types of systems you can use that work with your brain. Spend some time researching that or talking to other neurodivergent people to see how they handle their systems, to see if you can get some tips. And please, if you're going to unmask safely, because this is huge. Start identifying where you're masking and find ways to unmask safely. This might mean stimming when you need it, having a fidget in your hand, breathing deeply if you need to, taking a break from social interactions, speaking more directly instead of using neurotypical social scripts, and allow yourself to avoid eye contact when it's uncomfortable. Another important step in recovering from burnout, I find, is regulating your nervous system. Your nervous system is likely stuck in a state of hypervigilance or shutdown. You need gentle, consistent practices that help regulate your nervous system. This might include like weighted blankets, tight hugs, deep pressure, rocking, swinging, swaying, grounding yourself using your 5 senses, and then using breath work to calm your body. My favorite, my instant go-to, is an ice pack on the chest. Put some ice cubes in a Ziploc bag and fidget with them until they melt. Regulate your nervous system. Hum, sing, dance, take a walk out in nature. Find other neurodivergent people who understand what you're going through. Create community and understanding. This might be through online communities, local support groups, meetup groups, women's coffee groups, book clubs. Even just one friend who gets it is it. It's quality. Feeling understood and not alone is incredibly healing. Don't be afraid to get medical support. Work with a psychiatrist, work with a therapist who is understanding of neurodivergent burnout. You might need support for sleep, anxiety, depression, or other physical symptoms that can accompany burnout. When it comes to scheduling, when it comes to structure, be gentle. No rigid scheduling. Be as flexible as possible. A flexible structure that supports your executive functioning without overwhelming you. This might mean having routines for difficult tasks or using external supports like alarms and reminders. And as you go through burnout and as you start to see a little bit of the light, reconnecting with your special interests is important. If you've lost connection with your special interest or things you used to love, try to reconnect gently. Don't force it, but allow yourself small moments of engagement with things that used to bring you joy. And reframe productivity. This is hard. This is very hard in our productivity-obsessed culture. Our conditioning is that to go, 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 and to feel guilty when resting. But recovery means redefining what productive means. Maybe productive is taking a shower today. Maybe it's watching a comfort show. And maybe it's doing nothing at all. And that is necessary. I want to really be honest with you about recovery from neurodivergent burnout. It's not linear and it takes time. This isn't like recovery from a cold where you feel a little better each day until you get back to normal. This looks more like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You might have a good day followed by 3 difficult days. You might feel like you're getting better and then suddenly feel worse again. This doesn't mean you're not healing. It means you're healing from something complex and so deeply ingrained. For the first few weeks to months, the early recovery phase, it's often about survival and just reducing demands. You might need to sleep more, do less, and focus on your basic needs. And this can be frustrating if you're a high-functioning go-go-goer, but it's necessary. 2 to 12 months, middle recovery, you might start to have more capacity, but you're learning what your actual limits are versus what you thought they should be. This phase often involves a lot of grieving the person you thought you were, grieving the lost time, grieving the energy you used to have. And then beyond a year out, you've got ongoing recovery. For many people, recovery from severe neurodivergent burnout is ongoing. This doesn't mean you never feel better. It means you're learning to live in a way that's sustainable for your neurotype rather than constantly pushing beyond your limits. Some people do recover completely and go back to functioning at their previous level. Others find a new way of being that's different but equally valid. There's no right way to recover. Recovery looks like understanding your own patterns and limits. It looks like having accommodations in place that support your neurotype. It's being able to recognize early warning signs of overwhelm. Having strategies that work for you is very important. Feeling more connected to yourself and your needs is what recovery looks like. And recovery looks like experiencing less shame about your neurotype. Recovery means learning to live authentically and sustainably as the neurodivergent person you are. All right. So practical next steps immediately this week. If you're listening and recognize that you're in burnout, here's some concrete steps. This week, identify one demand you can reduce or eliminate temporarily. Make one small accommodation to your environment. And give yourself permission to rest without guilt. This month, I want you to start tracking your energy levels and what affects them. Find one person who understands neurodivergent experiences. And I want you to research accommodations that might help you. Within the next few months, consider working with a therapist who understands neurodivergence if you don't do that immediately. Explore what unmasking might look like in safe spaces. And start building a toolkit of regulation strategies that work for you. I want you to remember you don't have to do all this at once. Pick one thing that feels manageable and start there. Out of this week, either reduce demands or eliminate it temporarily, or make one small accommodation to your environment, or please give yourself permission to rest without guilt. If you're experiencing neurodivergent burnout, you're not failing. You're not broken. And like I said at the beginning, you are not fucking lazy or weak or dramatic. You're a person whose brain works differently, trying to exist in a world that often doesn't accommodate those differences. The fact that you've made it this far, that you're still trying, that you're listening to this podcast and looking for answers, that's actually incredible strength. Neurodivergent burnout is a signal that something needs to change. Not you, but how you're being asked to exist in the world. Recovery is possible, but it might look different than what you expected. You deserve accommodations. You deserve understanding. You deserve to live in a way that works for your brain and nervous system. If this episode helped you feel more understood and less alone, please share it with another neurodivergent woman who might need it. Thank you so much for being here, for noticing, and thank yourself for showing up today and learning a little bit more about yourself. I'd love to hear from you. Message me, comment, leave an emoji. Leave me a smiley emoji if this helps you. I'd love to hear from you. Something simple, just to know that you grabbed something from this episode. Like I said in the intermission break, I offer private sessions for virtual therapy and life coaching. Whether you're healing, navigating life, or just ready to come home to yourself, I hold space for women just like you every single day. And it is my honor, my blessing, my pleasure, my life's dream to do what I do. And I'd love to help you. If that's something you're curious about, fill out that consultation request via my Linktree. And if nothing else, get a hold of that Spotify playlist that I've got there on my Linktree that is all about empowering women, empowering women. It is beautiful music, gets you going, and it's nothing nefarious, all good hype music. You're never too late. You're never too much, and you don't have to figure it out all alone. Until next time, my dears, may you be happy and free. May mine and your healing ripple outward to bless the world with happiness and freedom. Take care of you, and I'll see you soon.